Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick, and today guys we're jumping down into the world of XRP, taking a look at what's been going on most recently and what I would expect to happen next. Now as I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Now if you have not yet joined us in Discord, the link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out today? You'll also find links to the new community-led Cheeky podcast in the description down below. This is a fantastic way of staying up to date with everything crypto on your daily commute to the office. It's completely free. It's available here on YouTube. It's available on Apple, and Spotify, and of course Amazon Music. So why not check that out? Okay, with all that said, let's get into this. Let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to just bring up our desktop here, and we're going to talk a little bit now about XRP. Here we have it paired up with USDT on the hourly chart, and Binance is the data source. Now we've been mapping some reasonably complex corrective moves, and essentially I still think that we're inside this little wave 4 area just here, and there is a potential push just to come up ever so slightly higher. Now, and we take a look at this. This was yesterday. We got very close to my expectations around a double top with this move over here. It's also possible that we just have a little bit of a slight push higher than that, okay? So what we want to do is we want to break down where we currently are and what this means, whether or not we're actually going to hit our targets or we're going to break all the way down, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to break this down into steps, right? So first of all, we have a nice surge to the upside. This low point down here was the low of our wave 3. This basically is set at 28.72 cents. Okay, we've moved up in one pretty reasonably long and it almost looks like an impulsive structured move, but essentially I look at this as a 335 structure, taking us to a high point of 38.71 cents. Okay, so that's basically the A wave section. Then of course we move down. When we move down here, we actually have a 5-wave drop. So on a simple correction, we were looking at 38.71 being our top of our wave 4, and then we were looking at this potential move to the downside, finishing off our targets. However, the crypto space wanted us to do things slightly differently. So we had a 5-wave move down, followed by a 3-wave move upwards, and an additional 5-wave move down. Now, what we have here is what is known as a zigzag pattern. A zigzag pattern is a 5, 3, 5-wave structure. And essentially, this is actually just simply labeled A, B, and C. Okay. So if I go ahead and remove those, we can see here that we have our little A wave, we have our B wave, and we have a C wave. Okay, so this basically is a 3-wave structure. Now, 3 waves are short-term corrective moves. They can go up and they can go down. So we have A, B, C going up, and inside here, within our B wave structure, we have an A, B, C. Okay, so we're getting different degrees or different levels nested inside each other. But essentially what we've really got going on here is a zigzag pattern taking us down to a low point where we actually have this marked at 30.2 cent. This is this low point just down here, our C wave. So what we've so far have we done? Well, we had our low of 28.72. We bounced up to 38.71. We corrected down because you would naturally have to after a pretty decent run upwards, where we find support at about 30.2. We then start to rally back up again. Now, our expectations with an ABC structure like this is the minimum expectation, which would be a double top, okay, meaning that we should revisit 38.71 cents. Failure to do this, it just means that potentially we haven't finished our upward directional move. We might pull back and then move up afterwards, meaning that our C wave here might actually be more complicated and more complex than we were actually willing to admit right at this moment, mainly because we just cannot see the candles. So what we might be saying here is that this is A, we come back down here with B, then we finally hit that higher point. Whether that becomes a double top, we're actually hitting a 1-to-1 ratio on a macro scale. So what I'm saying is, although we're in a point in time where we could potentially just come up, hit this area, and then pull back, it's also possible that we pull back, then rally up afterwards, okay? So it's hard to be really more predictive right now, considering the structure that's currently here. This could be a little wave 4 finishing with a wave 5 taking us up higher, and then that is the case, then I can go ahead and I can measure this move and say that we should end up with our wave 5 and the end of our C wave being between 39 cent and 40.38 cent. Okay, now if I go ahead and take a fib and I run this Fibonacci retracement from our A wave high to our A wave origin, we move this over to our B wave low, bearing in mind this was 30.20, so I can go ahead and put that there. Then this shows our 1-to-1 ratio for our C wave being at 40.7. Okay, so you can see here that this fifth wave at the moment as it stands is very much aligned to creating a 1-to-1 ratio on a macro scale for our A and our C wave. However, we should also note that the minimum requirement is still 38.71. It doesn't have to go higher, but if we are in a 5-wave structure, our fifth wave's minimum would be 39 cent, and that would be slightly higher than 38.71. So ultimately, if we're in a 5-wave move here where we have a 3-3-5 structure, and this is just our 4th wave that we've experienced to the downside, then XRP should move up. However, it's also possible, as I said, that all we've done so far is moved up into an A wave, meaning we pull back into a B wave, and then we pull up higher into our C wave later. So essentially, there's lots of different ways of cutting this, and that's the thing that we need to be very cautious on. Essentially, there's no clear way to be more predictive over what is going on right now, other than the fact that we have kind of reached this area here. So if we were to say that this was wave 1, then effectively we would have overlapped wave 1 and created an invalidation, and we would expect now further downside rather than upside. However, there's no way of guarantee that that is wave 1, considering this structure here is incredibly bad in the way that it is overlapping a lot. Okay, so our wave 1 could be all the way down here at 32.5. It really does depend on how you want to draw this up. So I'm not confident in saying whether or not we've invalidated any potential fifth wave up just yet, but looking at some momentum, we might actually be able to help us understand the probability of the next move. So what we've got down here is a stochastic RSI. This stochastic RSI is incredibly sensitive to price movements and helps us understand whether or not we have momentum behind a price move upwards or downwards. Okay. Now our hourly is above the 80 level. This indicates that it is overbought, which means we're probably going to see some movement to the downside in order to correct from overbought to oversold with a level of under 20 on our stochastic RSI. So when we take a look at it from an hour chart, we know that, yeah, we're probably going to find some turbulence right around here at some point soon. However, our 4-hour chart is all the way down in the oversold area, indicating that on the 4-hour chart we have some upward momentum, and we've only really just started. This could indicate that we could be actually targeting out for that final fifth wave higher, and actually hit our C wave targets and then collapse down after. Now, essentially, for XRP, this would be very much aligned to something like Ethereum, and that is also looking for that final fifth wave higher before pulling back down. So this could be a 4th wave low, and that could be the start of a next move upwards. Now, our hourly chart, you might think, well, it needs to come down, and that is fine. We might find that we might just move down ever so slightly here, not go down lower than the original low. That would be very important that we don't do that. Okay. But just drop back a little bit, and this stochastic RSI moves rapidly to the downside. Something like what we saw over here, for example. Okay, so if I grab hold of this, you can see that this small movement right here went from overbought to oversold, and it didn't really do too much to the price, right? So we could have something like that just over here, just a small price movement, and then basically, bam, we can move on up. And what we would look for within this kind of final 5-wave structure would be a 5-wave structure, funny enough, right? So if I do just roughly draw this in, and I'm just going to take this as a wave 1, wave 2, say that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, you'd end up with a structure that would look something similar to this. And I don't want to take this as our high point, but it's got a little bit of overlap on it. But it gives you a notion of an idea here, and that we have 5 waves going up, and we could have 5 waves within the 5th wave. Okay. Now, essentially, that's one way of actually targeting out this area. It's very, very messy though, because they haven't got a huge. I guess we'd have to go down into much smaller timeframes to really be able to map a lot of that out. So caution should definitely be applied here. There's nothing as a guarantee. We could move down before moving up, or but essentially, my expectation is that we hit at least 38.71, and I think we've got the momentum on our 4-hour and our 8-hour chart to at least get us there. Now, from a price point perspective, from the current point of recording this video, we're talking probably an 8, we'll keep it down here, 7% move. It's not the best, and one of the reasons I probably wouldn't want to be taking the risks personally on trading such a move is that we have much, much, much more room to the downside than we have to the upside. So you're playing the risk game here, essentially. Now, do as a gentle reminder, I want to tell everyone that I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice. All I can do is give you my thoughts and opinions on the data in the charts as I see it. So, you know, for me personally, I wouldn't be wanting to go long or, you know, buy into this just to ride it up to sell it later. Just because there's potential risk here that all we're witnessing is some kind of corrective move down before we move on up. And therefore, you know, if you're going to go long, you might get liquidated on that move. So essentially, I'd say there's high risks here. I'd wait for confirmation of the right move. If this is wave one, then we've overlapped it and that would invalidate that. So for me right now, I just want to kind of see how this plays out. Obviously, you know, I think where we are is a good position. Ultimately, though, we are looking at downward price action to take us towards 23.8 and 26.7. Okay, so that's kind of the zone. Now, how high would XRP have to go to prevent such a move to the downside? That's set up here on this dashed line at 54.89 cent. Okay, so unless the price from our current price right now at the point of recording moves up another 53%, we should be thinking that there's downward price on a macro level. Okay, so our macro is indicating that there's a trend to the downside. The only way to prevent that trend from succeeding in further downside and further lower lows is to go up higher than 54.89. So when I start talking about these real small movements to the upside here, they all wave 4 movements, and that's counter to the trend. The trend is down, okay, and it hasn't been broken. So all of this is just basically short-term corrective moves upwards, and we're really at the top end of this. So therefore, going long, it seems incredibly risky when actually what we're really talking about is movement to the downside. Taking that current price down to our low points, we're probably talking anywhere between 25 and 34%. So significant to the downside and limited to the upside. Essentially, I know what side I want to be on, but I'm waiting for confirmation to see where I think XRP is going to go next, specifically within this last little section of our wave 4 movement. Of course, you know, something crazy could happen and we could come up here to 54.89. That is fine. If that happens, we invalidate the lows, we wait for a retracement because nothing moves up in straight lines, and we buy the retracement. It might just be that we're slightly higher than here, but at least we get confirmation that there's no more lows afterwards. So strategy is absolutely everything. Emotions are your enemy. So make sure you think logically and we don't just react to price movements. You definitely don't want to be buying the top end of any corrective structure as I would see it. So yeah, I'll leave that with you there. Those are my thoughts on XRP. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. And you know, if you found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done, and out of the way, let's hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.